Welcome everyone to today's video. We're the Dimitrov-Boulay Piano Duo. My name is Dimitri Dimitrov.
And my name is Elvira Boulay.
And in today's video, Elvira had a very nice idea to talk about something that happens very often among our students. And perhaps it's nice that you explain what that is.
You think you're doing something, but actually you're not. And that means you think you're playing forte, but actually we're just straining to hear you. Or you think you're playing rubato, but you're playing through in exactly the same tempo.
And that's a very funny thing to happen because I see it with my students. Elvira sees it with her students. And it's extremely interesting because what goes on in your head might not be what comes out in reality.
So let's take a look actually at what happens before your ideas come out of your hands. I think we've discovered that there's 3 steps to any expression in music. The first step is the idea comes in your head. You know, your imagination. You imagine wanting to hear forte, for example. The second step is actually the physical action of creating that expression. So creating the forte in that sense. So in this case, the second step would be pressing harder on the keys if you want to create forte. And then the third step that's really essential, but that I think a lot of students forget, is the checkup. Am I doing it enough? Listening back.
That reminds me of something. Perhaps there are those that you're talking about it. I'm thinking that perhaps there are those people that play, and that's not bad at all, but like they didn't even decide in advance what dynamic they're going to play.
Yeah.
So perhaps that's a reminder to first decide. They might still want that to be piano, or you might want that to be forte, but you haven't even decided consciously that you're going to do it. So when you said the first step, make a conscious choice that you're going to play with dynamics, for example.
Absolutely.
So that's step 1. What's step 2?
So step 2 would be the execution actually of the idea you had in your mind. So that's the physical aspect, right? You have the mental aspect, the thinking of what you want, and then you have the physical aspect of actually doing it on the piano. So obviously you would need to know what to do. That has to do with technique, that has to do with knowledge. And for some things, it would be very straightforward. If you want to play forte, you would have to press harder, right? For some things, it might be a little bit more complicated. So you might not have the knowledge yet. That's somewhere you could get stuck on, right? And as always, if you have any specific questions, just leave a comment down below. And then we get into the third step.
And the third step is something very, very simple. You have to check yourself for feedback. And that happens in 2 ways. At least in this video, we'll mention 2 ways. One is play for somebody who has, if you have a teacher, play for your teacher. They will give you feedback. If you don't have a teacher, play for somebody who has experience or who is more advanced than you. They might give you some tips. Good or bad, you're going to get feedback, and that's going to get you somewhere. You're going to get moving somewhere. And the other option, and that's in the third step, is instead of playing, if you don't want to play for someone, record yourself. Record yourself and compare your recording to professional recording or of a person that you admire, whose performance you really look up to. That's something that very similarly you want to play like that person. For example, you love their rubato and you want to do it something very similar to that, and put like a painting. When you want to paint something that really represents a painting that you love, you put them next to each other. The same way, put the recording, your recording, next to that person's recording, and think and see and listen to if your rubato is close to that, or if it's even there.
Yeah, if it's even there, because sometimes you would listen back and you would realize, just as we often hear with our students, that actually there is no rubato, that it's only got stuck in your head and that you didn't even execute the idea.
Absolutely. That's why I'm offering different options. If you don't want to compare to anybody, just listen yourself and just see what you hear. You might hear nothing in the beginning. That doesn't mean that in the future you won't hear things. You might start hearing little by little things like, oh, I'm playing way too soft, or way too even, or too loud, or I'm not changing enough the dynamics. You will see that your eyes will, in sort of speak, your eyes will open, your ears will open, and you will be able to listen to yourself while you're playing afterwards in a totally different way. So that's one of my favorite steps, that you just listen to yourself.
And you'll see that with listening back, every time you listen back, you also gather knowledge about how you are. For example, you might discover that you always play softer than you think. So in that case, you would start, even without listening to yourself, you would start playing louder because you would know that you have to exaggerate your forte if you want anybody else to hear it. So you will start getting better and better.
I had an idea. This video could be one-step video. Listen to yourself. Because if you think about it, everything will come out of that. If you listen to yourself, you might realize I'm not doing anything. I have to decide to play forte, or I have to decide to play with dynamics.
It depends a little bit how you work, because for me, just knowing that there are 3 steps to a process already helps. It already helps that I would even, like, if I would watch this video, it would already help that I know, hey, wait, I have an idea, then I have the execution, and then I have the checkup. Like for me, for how my brain works, that would be the most helpful thing at all. Knowing that it is a 3-step process.
That might work for a lot of people because, look, for
Leave
us,
a comment down below if your brain works like mine.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also depends on where the person is in their development. Like we have a lot of subscribers that already would jump into the 3rd step.
Yeah.
A lot of my students would jump into the 3rd step
yeah.
because they want already to have certain dynamics. And those of you who aren't students of ours, you probably also, there are a lot of people who already know exactly what they want to do, but they're not happy with their result.
Yeah. And if you are actually stuck on step 2, the execution, like we said, just leave a comment down below. Just tell us something specific that you don't know how to do, and we'll shoot a video on it.
Absolutely. I think everyone can be at different stages. So use these 3 steps. I think they're wonderful. I think it's really, really important. I mean, even sometimes for us, the 1st step comes into play. Sometimes it's like, hey, we haven't even decided what exactly we want to do and we're just playing it. Shall we decide? And the moment you make a decision, something happens. So that's why I also love the first step. Something else? I think that
was it.
Like Elvira said, let us know if you want to know anything more down in the comments below. Thanks each one of you for subscribing to our channel. It's nice to see it growing steadily. And from us, as always, it was a great pleasure recording this video for you. Like the video, subscribe even if you don't want to, and we'll see you next week again.